So how about we start like this? I give you some numbers in words, and then you are to write these numbers in figures. Are you ready for that? It's alright. You're welcome to our class, and I will be teaching you how to write numbers in figures in this video lesson. But anyway, don't think that I have forgotten the experiment we're going to carry out. I'm going to give you these 4 numbers and you will have to write them in figures. Let's see how far we can go. Okay, after that, then we would now look at what you should know when you are writing a number in figures. Remember, in our last class, I taught you how you can write a number in words. So the number is given to you in figures, you write it in words. So now we'll be looking at, you are given the number in words, you are expected to write it in figures. So let us try out these and see. Here we go. The first number, write 7 in figure. I know you smiled, you just wrote that quickly. That's good. Okay, let's move on. Write 18 in figure. And again, this one did not give you any tough time. Alright, we've worked on 2. We're moving on. What about this? 632. Write it in figure. Alright? 632. That's good. I know you're smiling. Like, these numbers are too small for me. I mean, a higher class. It's okay, that's good. Impressive. You were able to write this 1-digit number, 2-digit numbers, and 3-digit numbers in figure. You wrote them quite easily. There was no difficulty there. Okay, how about this? Let's try this, okay? Are you ready? 30 trillion, 11,009. Once again, 30 trillion, 11,009. Write it in figure. Are you stuck? The number is too large, right? Then you're like, how do I write this? Don't worry, it's very simple. I will be teaching you this, the secret, what you need to know to be able to write any number no matter how large. Even if you hear the number in the place value of nonillion, alright? You can be able to write that. On the board here, I've got 2 secrets that you should have. Be guided by these secrets when you want to write a number in figure, and no matter how large that number is, you just play around it. Writing whole numbers in figures. What are the secrets? The first thing you should do when a number is given to you in words and you are expected to write that number in figure, first thing you need to do is to identify the standard place values in decreasing order down to 100, tens, and units. Identify the word standard place values, SPV. I think I have to underline this, which means that when you're talking about place values, there are these ones we call standard place values. Don't worry, you'll find out. So you have to identify the standard place values. In identifying this, it's best to do it from the highest to the lowest, so in decreasing order. Because generally when a number is given to you, if you pronounce a number, you always start the pronunciation from the biggest number, from the biggest digits, the highest place value. So you take it down to what? 100, tens, and unit. What do we mean by saying you should identify the standard place values? Standard place values, what does this mean? On the board here, I've listed what I refer to as standard place values. You would remember, if you take your mind back to our class when I introduced place values and their standard values, I said something about standard place values. I also said something about levels of place values. So these are what we call the standard place values. So we have trillion, we have billion, we have million, thousand, hundred, tens, and unit. Remember that when you come to thousand, you have tens of thousands. You also have what? Hundreds of thousands. I told you that this thousand alone is unit of thousand. That was when I introduced place values and their standard value. So these place values are the standard place values. Units, thousand, hundred, okay, units, tens, hundred, thousand, million, billion, trillion. You continue quadrillion, depending on your level of learning anyway. But we're stopping at trillion. I don't want to take you above that for now. So you see, these unit, tens, hundred, thousand, million, billion, trillion are our standard place value. Which means if you hear something like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, tens of billions, hundred of billion, tens of trillion, hundred of trillion. These are just levels of our standard place value. Once you hear something like 10 million, tens of million, you know you're already operating in million level. If you hear something like hundreds of thousand, 100,000, you know that you're already operating in that standard place value called thousand. If you hear something like, okay, 10 trillion, okay, if you hear 10 trillion, it simply means you're already operating in the standard place value of trillion. So I hope you now take note of what I mean by standard place value. And of course, these ones, HTR, that is 100 trillion, TTR, 10 trillion, HB, 100 billion, TB, 10 billion, HM, 100 million, TM, 10 million, HTH, 100,000, TTH, 10,000. These are just levels of standard place values. They are just levels of standard place values. For example, when you see this TTR, tens of trillion, it means under the trillions, you're now operating with 2 digits there. Hundreds of trillion, it means under the trillion place value, you're now operating with 3 digits. But if you hear just trillion, it means you're operating with just 1 digit in the trillion level. Don't worry, we're going to see all of this as we solve questions. Secret number 1, identify the standard place values in decreasing order down to units. And I've told you what these standard place values are. I've also explained to you what levels of place value is all about. Secret number 2, you are now expected to write the place value starting from the highest place value, down to the lowest place value of the whole number, which of course is units. So write them out and then start filling each place values with the digits that should enter there. We've been doing that since. You can now see why I have been emphasizing, I've been talking about place values. Don't joke with that. Anybody that has issues with writing numbers is simply because the person refused to learn place values. Remember that your friend that asked you to write some numbers in a bank checklist. Maybe when you were teaching that your friend place values, he was busy playing, sitting at the back and chewing groundnuts. Come on, don't mind me. Just want to be fun, but that's the truth. Okay, if you have this opportunity to learn place values, pay attention to it. Now you have that opportunity. GMAT 41 is teaching you this. Okay, you want to ensure that you learn it, give attention to it. Watch these videos over and over again. And of course, you would have been very good in one foundation of mathematics. We are moving on. When you fill the place values with the digits that are supposed to be there, if you have any empty place value, what you're expected to do, fill that empty place value with zeros. Let me indicate this by underlining this point, very important, because once you fill up this place value, sometimes there are some place values that will be empty. Any empty place value must be filled with 0. Take note of this point, very important. When you are going to learn about addition and subtraction of decimal numbers, you see, I have observed some students, some pupils, they have problems doing addition and subtraction of decimal numbers, even multiplication of decimal numbers. The problem, the challenge they have is simply because of neglecting this. Are you getting me? Like I said, we're moving. We'll keep climbing the hill, and of course, we'll get to the peak, to the top of that mountain. When we get there, I'll remind you of this thing I'm just telling you in this class. Fill up any empty place value with what? 0. That is all about how to handle whole numbers when trying to write it in figure. We are set for question now. Question number 1. Write 83,490,000,000. I read this for 2 times. So 83,490,673,004 in figures. Oh my gosh. Very large number. Billions. 83,490,673,004 in figures. So it's very simple. Let's see how we solve this. The first thing we do, like I said in the secret, is to identify the standard place values you have in the question. And what are our standard place values? Now follow along, listen to yourself as we pronounce this number. Are you ready? We have 83 billion. So I'm going to underline this. You heard billion. Billion is part of our standard place value. You know that, isn't it? Okay, 83 billion. Forget about the 83 yet. 83 is only telling you that you are now operating in tens of billion. If I give you 83, you pronounce it as 83. That is unit and tens. Is that not so? Or tens and unit, as you might choose to call it. 83. I hope you are following. So that is just level. This thing is just level of billion. The standard place value there is billion. Let's move on. The next standard place value you would see, and of course here as you pronounce this number, is million. 490 million. It simply means that the 490, we've already learned how to write 3-digit numbers, okay? So if you hear 490, 490, this is just the level of the million you're operating on. It's simply telling you that in this million standard place value, you are already in hundreds of million. That's what it means. So forget about that 490 first. Take note of that standard place value. We are moving on. 673,000. Good. So another standard place value is 1,000. You can see them here. So we have billion there, we have million there, we have 1,000. And then you see that this ends with what? And 4. And 4. So if I just give you the number 4, you can write it. It's just a 1-digit number, right? Now that we've identified all the standard place values, the next thing we now have to do is to write the place values, of this number, starting from the highest down to unit. But before we move on into that, let's bring out these things. This is 83. How do you write 83? 83 is written as 83 this way. Is that not so? So this 83 is already in billion. So we have 83 billion. And then we have 490. If I give you that word, that number 490, just like that, and I said you should write it, definitely you are going to write 490. This is 490. And this is a million, if you look at that, it's a million. The next one, we have 673,000. Look at this number, 673. If I give it to you alone, what would you do? So it be 673. 673. And that is in what? In the standard place value of 1,000. Then conclusively, you head and 4. Okay? And 4. And 4. That 4 is simply written like this. Okay, now, looking at this, you notice that this number in billion, how many digits do you have there? Just 2, 83. So this thing is like units and tens. Are you following, right? If I give you 83, 83 is simply tens and units. 83 is already in tens of billion because 83 alone is tens and unit, like I said. It therefore means that in writing out the place value, the billion will start with tens of billion. 83, this thing is units and tens. In fact, let me fix it up for you. Units and tens of billion. Alright, this is units of billion and tens of billion. This one in million is units, tens, and what? 100. You can see them. This one is also units, tens, and 100. This one is 1,000. Then you just have and 4. 4 alone is a unit digit, So like I said, looking at this is tens of billion already. So it means that the highest place value here is going to be tens of billion. So I'll start with that, tens of billion. After tens of billion, the next you will meet should be billion, because it's going to come down to units. After that, you have 100 million, you have tens of million, you have million. After this place value, you go down to thousand, so this 100,000. The next is tens of thousand. The next one is thousand. Then finally, hundreds and units. Here we go. Let's now fix the digits here. These digits we have here, let us now fix them under these place values. Are you ready for that? Go into that of billion. I like filling from the highest place value. And of course, if you are writing a number in figure, it is advisable you start from the highest place value. Billion is the highest standard place value. Under billion, there we have 83. 83 is simply tens and units of that billion. So this 8 is under tens of billion. I'll come here and fix 8. Then this 3 is unit of billion. Unit of billion is the same as billion. I told you that before. Now let us move on to that of million. This 4 is under hundreds of million because you have 490. Unit, tens, and hundred. 3 digits. So we fill that under this million level. Look at it. 4 will come under 100 million. 9 will come under tens of million. And then 0 will come under unit of million, which is still the same as million. Then we move on. The next is thousands. Thousand here has 3 digits as well too. 6 under 100, 7 under tens of thousand, and 3 under unit of thousand. Then you notice that after this, the next digit you heard is 4. And 4 is simply unit. You know that. Because 4 is simply unit. Can you feel it here? No, this place value is 100, you know that. Can you feel it here? No, this place value is tens. We are talking about just 1 digit. 1 digit is unit. So it's going to come under unit. Did you notice something here? That place value, 100 and tens, they are empty. So what do? You fill them up with zeros. Let me step down the zeros this way. Fill any empty place value with what? Zeros. And that is that. I am done with it. You can bring out this now. Therefore, this will now be equal to this number, 83,490,673,004, written in figures, is equal to 83490,6. This T is supposed to be 7, please. 7, so 673,004. If you want to use your comma and separate, is your choice. Let me do that. 1, 2, 3, you put your comma. 1, 2, 3, you put your comma. 1, 2, 3, you put. So this is 83,490,673,004. Can you please put your hands together for me? Answer. I tried now, right? Huh? Of course, I tried. You see the way I took it gently, calmly, breaking down all the secrets, all the processes, all the things you need to be thinking about as you write a number in figure. Don't think that it takes time like this. This is our first question in this, and so I have to take my time to explain every step you need to be thinking of, even though you don't write them out. Because of course, it's not compulsory to write all these things out. This is just what they ask you to do. And the next question, I'll simply go to this level. Okay, so let's see what question number 2 has for us. We now have these 2 questions on the board. Let's see how we solve them quickly. No time to waste. All the secrets have been given to you already. If you're still having problems with your place values, I advise you to go back and watch our previous videos on place values and their standard values. Is that okay? Question number 2. Write 31,000 in figure. Don't have question number 3. Write 516,006 in figure. First, let's start with that question number 2. Write 31,000 in figure. Solution to question 2. Now, what I heard is 31,000. 1000. 1000 is the standard place value there. Is that okay? But then I had 31 before the 1000. 31. If I mention that number, 31, how do you write it? 3, 1. Is that not so? So this is going to be 31,000. Alright, so we go. There is nothing again, just 31,000. So what do I do? Remember, these are 2-digit numbers, and this 2-digit number is operating in the standard place value 1000. So this is simply units, and this one is what? Tens. Which means that this number 31,000 is operating in the level of tens of thousand, because this 3 is under tens, okay? And for that reason, I'll write my place values, okay? Tens of thousand, and then 1000, 100, tens, and what? Unit. This is just what I will have there. And then I'll start filling the place values with the correct digits. Remember that this 31 is already in thousands. Look at it, thousands. This 3 is under tens of thousands. So I will come to these tens of thousand and then write 3. Then this 1 is under unit of thousand. Remember that thousand is the same as what? Unit of thousand. So this one will come under this. And I didn't hear any other digit pronounced here. I only heard 31,000. Did you notice after filling the tens of thousand and the unit of thousand, which is thousand of course, you now notice that these 100 tens and units, those place values are what? Empty. And what is the rule? Fill any empty place value with zeros. So let me go and fill these place values with zeros. I'll use black marker to do that for you. Good. And so that is my 31,000. Is that okay? Let's conclude and see. Therefore, 31,000 in figure equals have 31000. If you want to put your comma 1, 2, 3, then have comma here, right? And that is simply how we write 31,000. Answer. We are moving on to question 2. Alright, question 3. The solution. We are asked to write 516,006 in figure. Now, when you pronounced it, you heard 516,000. I think the only standard place value you heard there is this 1,000. 516,000, then and 6. Now, if I mention the word 516, we know that the standard place value is 1,000 already. So coming to that, 516. How would you write that? Of course, it's in hundreds, so it's 3-digit numbers, right? So 516 is written like this: 516. And then this 516 belongs to the 1,000 standard place value, 1,000. And then after that 516,000, the next thing I heard is what? The next thing I heard was what? And 6. Good. So we have and 6. Again, you will notice that this is 3-digit numbers, so we have units, tens, and what? 100. Therefore means that the 1,000 place value is already operating in hundreds of thousands, which is the highest place value for us here. Then and 6, this is just 1-digit number. 1-digit number is units, you know that. Do you want to write the place values out? Well, sometimes it's best so that you would see if the number has any empty place value. So we go, we are going to have hundreds of thousands is the highest place value, so it gets to tens of thousands, and then we have our 1,000. After that, you have 100, tens, and units. Then you notice that under this 1,000 place value, the highest digit there is 5. Then tens of thousand, we have 1 there. Unit of 1,000, which is this unit, is 6 under 1,000. And then the next you heard is and 6. This 6 is units, so it comes here. Again, notice that 100 and tens place value are what? Empty. So we fill them with zeros. Okay, therefore, conclude, the number we are asked to write is 516,006. In figure is equal to, right, so we have this 516006. Right, so that's the number, and of course that is our answer. Very simple, right? Once you follow the steps, if you are thinking about the principles, okay, the guidelines, these things are very simple. We will take our last question. We'll go back to that big number in trillion that choked us, where we were stopped from the beginning of the class. Are you ready? Question number 4. Are you ready? Because here comes our last question, number 4. Remember that number, all right, around 30 trillion that we started with, which maybe choked us up. You know, we were stopped at that number because we thought the number is too big. We just couldn't write it. Remember I told you it's 1 plus 1. Very simple. So now let us see how we write that number in figure. Are you getting me? It's very simple, and I'll be fast in doing that. Believing that question number 1, 2, and 3, how I solved it, you followed along and you understood it. If you have any question, remember, you know what to do. Send your question across immediately and you get a response. Is that okay? So we are moving on to this. 30 trillion, 11,009 in figure. How would you write it? How would you write 30 trillion, 11,009 in figure? So this is very simple. Let's start working on it. First of all, the standard place value I had here are what? So we move on. 30 trillion. So one of them is trillion. 11,000. Another one is thousand. And 9. This 9 is the last digit. Okay? 9. Just a unit digit, you know that. 30 trillion. That 30 is just level of trillion. If I ask you to write 30, you would agree with me that it is just a 2-digit number. 30. So you have your tens and units. It simply means that this trillion is operating in the level of tens of trillion, because this 30 is in tens and units, but of the standard place value, trillion. That's correct. And you know how we do that? Always start from the highest place value. And like I said, the highest place value here is tens of trillion. I've explained that from 30. 30 is 30. Are you following? And 3 is under tens. So I'll come here and start with 10 trillion as the highest place value. Of course, I'll take it down now to unit as fast as I can. So this is trillion. When you're done with trillion, you move down to 100 billion. So this is billion, you have 10 billion, and then you have billion. When you're done operating, once you're done operating with the billion place value, you know, you reduce down to million, which is 100 million, and then you have tens of million, and then millions. Now you are done with millions, you move down again to another lower place value, which is 100 of 1,000, tens of 1,000, and then 1,000. Finally, you have your 100, tens, and what? Units. Good. Now let us fill up these place values now and see. If you go to the trillion, what we have there is 30 trillion. So this level, 30, is in terms of trillion. And like I said, 30, if you write it, you have tens and units. 3 will be under tens. So 3 will come under tens of trillion here. 30, 0 will come under unit of trillion. Remember, trillion is the same as unit of trillion. We move on to billion. Now, what do you do here? If you go back to your question, the number given to us in word here, did you hear any place value of billion there? Take a look. So you don't have to fill anything there. Or do you want to feel something? Maybe you tell me what you would feel. Okay? Maybe you already know that zeros will enter there because they will be empty place values. See why this place value arrangement is very important. Okay, we move on to million. Once again, go back to this number. Did you hear it in million there? No. Nothing to feel there. We keep moving. The next we had is 11,000. So we are operating at this level now, the 1,000 level. But then remember, what is attached to this 1,000 is 11. 11 is how many digits? 2 digits. 1, 1. So one of them will be tens of thousand, the other will be units of thousand. Because if I give it that 2 digit 1, 1, it's units and tens. Good. It means that if I'm coming to fill this 1,000 place value, I would only fill for tens of thousand and unit of thousand. That is 1,000 itself. And this is 11. I'll come on under this tens of thousand and fix 11. 1, 1. Good. And then the number concluded with and 9. Is 9 a 100 place value number? Is it a tens digit? Right, it's a unit digit. So come under unit and then fix your 9. You now see a lot of empty place values there. What do you do with those empty place values? Zeros will be filled into them. So 100 billion, 0, 10 billion, 0, billion, 0, 100 million, 0, 10 million, 0, million, 0, 100,000, 0. Come to this 100, 0. Come to this tens, 0. Let us assume that this thing is and 19. 19 is a 2-digit number. 1, 9. You know, 1 and 9. 9 will be under unit and 1 will be under what? Tens. Which means that under tens you fix 1 here, then unit will be 9. Okay, but that's not what we have here. This is just 9. And this is the number we are looking for to write in figure. Let's conclude. Therefore, writing 30 trillion 11,009 in figure will now be equal to, so you have this 30 trillion 11,009 in figure will be equal to, I'll write out all these digits. So let's go. I'll be careful so I don't make mistake. First we have 3 there, so this is 3. Next is 0. We have 0, we have 0, we have 0, we have 0, we have 0. Moving on, 0, oh my god, too many zeros. But we didn't have a choice. 1, 1. Keep fixing whatever we have there. 0, 0, and 9. That's the number. Can we use our comma to separate every 3 digits from the right? 1, 2, 3, comma. 1, 2, 3, comma. 1, 2, 3. There is a comma here, so let me separate the 0 a bit. 0 and 0. Good. Then 1, 2, 3. You have this. And of course, this is the number. 30 trillion 11,009. That's how we write this number in figure. Answer. So, do you think you understand everything that have been taught so far under writing whole numbers in figures? If you think you understand everything that has been taught after watching these videos over and over again, below this video lesson you have a quiz. The quiz covers writing numbers in words and writing numbers in figures. 10 questions, as usual. So feel free to attempt those questions. Remember, as you are taking the quiz, your result is showing on our system directly, so we know how far you are able to perform. Remember to watch the video lesson again and again. Understand the video lesson before you proceed to take the quiz. I'll be meeting you in our next class. And what do we look forward to in our next class? I'll be teaching you how to write numbers. Alright, that is decimal numbers in words and in figures. After everything I've taught you so far, what's the point? That you don't need to forget. Your place value is very important. Then know about how to identify and write 1-digit numbers, how to identify and write 2-digit numbers, how to identify and write 3-digit numbers. With these and your place values, you will be soaring high, fly like an eagle in this first part of foundational mathematics. I'll be seeing you in our next class. Until then, take good care of yourself and read your books.